Hey, what's going on? Want to know what I was just playing there? Happens to be just a simple improvisation using an A minor pentatonic scale. So that means we're back with another video on my deep dive into pentatonic scales. This is the second lesson in the series. And in the first video, we went over some basics about what pentatonic scales are, and we learned how to play the E and A minor pentatonic scales in open position. Today we will take those scales we learned and start to move them up and down the neck of the guitar. And by the end of the lesson, you will know how to locate and play minor pentatonics in all keys. And in fact, in two different ways. Let's start by quickly reviewing the open E and A minor pentatonic patterns. And when we do this, let's pay close attention to the spacing between all the notes, or the intervals between all the notes. So essentially we're going to be counting how many frets are between all the notes in the scale. Let me start with the E minor pentatonic scale. So we went over this in detail in the previous lesson, but here it is really quick. The E minor pentatonic starts on the note E, which is the open 6th string, and then I go up 3 half steps, or 3 frets, to G. Then I go to A, which is a whole step up from G. I'm just playing A on the open A string. Then I go up 2 frets, a whole step to B. I do another step and a half up to D, open D string. Then I play a whole step up to E, step and a half to G, whole step A, whole step B, step and a half to D, open E, that's a step up from D, and then a step and a half back up to G. And then I just do it backwards. Okay, so. So in summary, on the 6th, 2nd, and 1st strings, I spanned from the open string up to the 3rd fret, so I spanned 3 frets. And on the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings, I spanned 2 frets, from the open string to the 2nd fret. So we want to move that scale, right? So let's say we want to play the F minor pentatonic as opposed to the E minor pentatonic. How would we do that? For starters, the note F is just a half step above E. And from previous lessons, we learned that moving up a half step is accomplished by just moving up 1 fret on the guitar. So the really quick answer on how to play F minor pentatonic is just to play that E minor pentatonic, but move everything up 1 fret. Now let me demonstrate that and explain how and why this works. All right, so in the E minor pentatonic, I started on the open E string, and then I went up to the 3rd fret, which is the note G. For F minor pentatonic, I'm going to start on the 1st fret, F, and then I'm going to go up 3 frets to the 4th fret. That note's A flat. And then on the A string, I went, on the E minor pentatonic scale, I went open, 2, and I did the same thing on the 4th and 3rd strings, open and then the 2nd fret. So for the F minor, since we're moving everything up 1 fret, we're adding 1, plus 1 to every fret number. I'm just going on the A string, 1, 3, 1, 3 on the 4th string, 1, 3 on the 3rd string. And then the pattern for the 1st and 2nd strings was the same as the 6th string, right? So 1st to 4th fret. So all together it sounds like this. 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 4. I'd like to go a little deeper into what exactly is going on here. At this point, it is very important to get a grasp on the idea of what a shape on the guitar is. Many guitar players refer to the shapes our fingers make when playing certain chords and scales. For example, when you play an open C chord, the shape your fingers make is different than when you play a G chord or a D chord. And if you've started learning about bar chords, you may know about the popular E and A-shaped chords. And lucky for us, we can use the same concept of shapes when playing scales. If you look at the diagram for an E minor pentatonic scale, you will see that pattern or shape for the scale. If you recall from the previous lesson, we learned that any scale is a repeating pattern of notes. And different types of scales follow specific unique patterns of intervals or notes. The interval is the distance between the notes. It's how we measure the distance between the notes. And the pattern or formula for the minor pentatonic scale is whole plus half, whole, whole, whole plus half, whole. And the word whole here is just short for whole step, and the whole plus half is referring to a whole step plus a half step, which is 1.5 steps. Recall again, half step, 1 fret on the guitar, whole step, 2 frets, whole plus half, or step and a half, 3 frets. Knowing that, it is now very easy to see the formula taking shape in the first few notes of the scale. Now let's walk through this together in a little more detail. So, E minor, we went E to G, 3 frets, whole plus half. G to A, if I go on 1 string, G to A is the 3rd to the 5th fret. That's 2 frets, that's a whole step. So whole plus half, whole step to A to B is 2 frets, whole step. B to D, if I do that on 1 string, let me demonstrate that. B to D is a span of 3 frets, right? 2nd to the 5th fret on the 5th string. Just play D open, and then E, that's the whole step again. So E to G, whole plus half, G to A, whole, A to B, whole, B to D, whole plus half, D to E, whole. And that's the octave, and then the pattern just repeats again. G, A, B, D, E, G. A, B, D, E, G. Oh, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. All right, so if I move every note in the scale up 1 fret, the intervallic relationship between the notes in the scale will stay the same. Intervallic relationship, what am I talking about? I'm referring to the size of the interval between each note in the scale. Okay, that whole plus half thing. So what I'm saying is that if you use the same shape or pattern of notes or of intervals, it doesn't matter which note you start on, you're going to get the same size intervals. And we know that a scale is just a set formula of repeating pattern of intervals. So we can just move that shape up and down the neck and it'll just yield a minor pentatonic in a different key. Okay, that was a lot. So let me just prove how this works to you using the F minor pentatonic, right? So the whole plus half, whole plus half, whole. That's our minor pentatonic formula, right? So I'm going from F now, whole plus half, 1 to 4. That's A flat, 4th fret on the E string's A flat. A flat to B flat, that's a whole step. There it is on 1 string. B flat to C, another whole step. C to E flat, that's 3 frets if I'm on 1 string, and then E flat to F, that's a whole step again. So F to A flat, whole plus half, A flat to B flat, whole, B flat to C, whole, C to E flat, whole plus half, E flat to F is a whole step. So like I kind of quickly mentioned before, I can take this E minor pentatonic scale and just use that pattern and not just move it up 1 fret, but I could move it up 3 frets or 6 frets or 8 frets. And I'm going to get another minor pentatonic scale. The only thing that changes is the key or the notes in the scale. Now the notes may change, but the interval, the relationship between all the notes is the same. Okay, it's that formula, whole plus half, whole plus half, whole. So the question remains, okay, well, which fret is associated with which key? So if I start on like the 6th fret, for example, which key am I playing in, right? So we want to recall this concept from the first video in this series in which we discussed the tonic. The tonic is essentially synonymous with the word root, and it means the note from which a scale gets its name. So the E minor pentatonic scale has a tonic of the note E. The tonic note of the A major scale is A. The tonic of an E flat harmonic minor is E flat. Okay, it's just the note we're naming the scale after. The tonic may also be referred to as the first scale degree, or Do, if you're singing Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do. Now when we played our open E minor pentatonic scale, we started on the low E string, and that note was E. So So when I play these scales, the first note in the scale happens to be the tonic, which is really nice. It's not always the case, but it's the case here. So whichever fret I pick to start on, the note that I'm starting on that E string, so whatever the note on the E string is that I'm starting on, is the tonic of the scale. So it would be the name of the scale. So if you know, like G is the 3rd fret on the E string, and I played the pattern off the 3rd fret, I'm playing a G minor pentatonic scale. So in order to make your life easier, I'm going to give you a diagram of the fretboard with all the notes on the E string written in. And now you can play a minor pentatonic scale in any key. So maybe you want to play a C sharp minor pentatonic scale. Yeah, just use that diagram that's probably on the screen right now, and shows you, hey, start on the 9th fret. C sharp minor pentatonic. What about the A minor pentatonic scale that we learned in the last lesson, that open position A minor pentatonic scale? Can we move that one up and down? Yes, you can. You can essentially move anything on a guitar up and down. Let me quickly go over that A minor pentatonic scale and show you how the same concepts work. Okay? So A minor pentatonic, let's recall our formula. Whole plus half, A, starting on the A string. This is the tonic. I'm going to start on the tonic here, okay? Whole plus half, A to C, 3 frets. Whole step, C to D. On the A string, let me demonstrate. Boom, there it is. Two frets, C to D, C to D. D to E, whole step, 2 frets. E to G, 3 frets on the same string, or just play the open G string, that's a whole plus half, back to a whole step A. So again, our formula is checking out. Except this pattern, the shape of it is a little different, right? The shape of our fingers. Now I went below the tonic there at the end. I went A, G, E, below. So you can start on the E string when you play the scale, you're just not starting on the tonic when you do that. And here how when I land on A, it sounds like the home bass. It's the home, it's the tonic of the scale, okay? So let's say I want to play B minor pentatonic. B is pretty close to A, right? So I'm just gonna take that shape, right? And move it to wherever B is. However many frets away B is from A, which I'll show you right now. So B is 2 frets up from A. A sharp or B flat, B, 2nd fret on the A string. So now if I use that A minor pentatonic shape, and I just start on the 2nd fret, or I play that A minor pentatonic scale, but I move everything up 2 frets, I get a B minor pentatonic, right? So I went, instead of open 3, open 2, open 2, I'm going 2, 5, 2, 4, 2, 4, and then instead of 1, 3, like an A minor, I'm doing 3, 5 for B minor, and then 2, 5. So like I just mentioned, the tonic of this scale, of this pattern, is on the A string. So you're going to want to learn the notes on your A string as in addition to the notes on your E string, so you can move this one up, right? Maybe you know that D is the 5th fret on the A string, and you want to play a D minor pentatonic. See how it's the same shape? It's wild, right? So what we'll do now is we will think of our minor pentatonics in terms of 2 shapes. We had the tonic on the E string shape, which was the first one we went over, where we did the F minor, right? And then we had the tonic on the A string shape, where we were doing the B minor and the D minor, right? So what I want to do in closing is I want to leave you with a few exercises to practice those 2 shapes. And I'm going to list 4 keys. And what I want you to do is I want you to play the minor pentatonic scale 2 different ways. So in 2 different spots on the guitar for each key. So I'm essentially asking you to use the E string tonic shape and the A string tonic shape for each scale. And in order to do this, you're going to want to find the tonic of the scale on the E string and the A string. So you're going to want to use those fretboard diagrams that I had just probably put up on the screen. You can also download that in the PDF below. So the 4 keys are G minor pentatonic. So I want you to play G minor pentatonic in 2 locations. I want you to play C minor pentatonic in 2 different locations. F sharp minor pentatonic, and then E flat minor pentatonic. So 4 different scales. So I'm going to give you the answers now. If you haven't quite figured it out, hit pause if you want to keep thinking about it. All right, so let's go over G minor pentatonic. G is the 3rd fret on our E string. So I'm going to play the E string tonic pattern off of the 3rd fret. I'm going to get a G minor pentatonic. I'm alternate picking that scale. Now you may want to try hammer-ons and pull-offs. It's a little sneak peek into the next lesson where we do some exercises. And then G on the A string is the 10th fret. So I'm going to use my A string tonic pattern up there on the 10th fret. And I'm going to do all 6 strings on this one. I'm not going to start on the 5th string, even though that's where our tonic is. Important to practice the scale through all the strings. Now, let's use our ears for a second. Let's listen, considering we're doing music here and it's all about sound. So, listen to that version of the G minor pentatonic that I played up high, and then this one down low. Same notes, right? Just up an octave. Pretty cool. All right, the next one I asked you to do was the C minor pentatonic. So C on the E string. Boom, we're gonna go whoop, 8th fret. There it is. Use my E string tonic pattern there. Then C on the A string. 3rd fret. Oh, whoa. Same note. A string tonic pattern. Here we go. There's C minor pentatonic. Now we're going to get into the sharp and flat world. F sharp minor pentatonic scale. We did F minor pentatonic earlier. F sharp is just 1 fret up from F, so that's the 2nd fret on the E string. There it is. It's also the 9th fret on the A string, F sharp. You can also think of that scale, F sharp, as like being G flat, being a half step below G. So we did G on the 3rd and 10th fret, if you recall. So F sharp would be the 2nd and 9th fret. E flat minor pentatonic. E flat is the 11th fret on the E string, and the easiest way to arrive at this, instead of just trying to rely on the diagram all the time, you can kind of figure it out on your own. If you go up and realize the 12th fret cuts the string in half, it's our octave, E, octave up, E on the 12th fret. Sorry I don't have my dots, but this big bird here with the wings, that's 12th fret. So a half step below E is E flat. Okay. So first shape, E string tonic pattern. We'll get into 1st, 2nd, 3rd shape in the next video. It's called the E string tonic pattern. Here it is. E flat minor pentatonic, and then E flat is also the 6th fret on the A string. So I hope the idea of shapes is starting to sink in for you. In this lesson, we went over the A and E string tonic shapes of the pentatonic. In the next lesson, we will learn 3 more very common shapes for the pentatonic scale, giving us a total of 5 shapes. And you remember how many notes are in a pentatonic scale? Yeah, pentatonic just translates into a 5-note scale. So there's 5 notes and we can play 5 different shapes on this scale. Starting to see a trend develop here. Maybe I can blow your mind a little bit in the next lesson, so tune in for that. So the last thing I want to say is I want to address some of the things I see regarding like pentatonic scales in the online space. I see a lot of things that I equate to like get rich quick schemes or like lose weight fast with the fad diet schemes. You see things like just learn this one trick and master the pentatonic in 5 minutes, or stop learning theory and just do this one method that'll unlock all the scales so you can play like Jimi Hendrix. And just like a fad diet, it's all BS, okay? Guitar playing, as you probably already know, is difficult. It's hard to master, and it takes a lot of time and dedication and energy into practicing and studying in order to become a professional or just very proficient at the instrument. And what a lot of these people that are doing these, like learn the pentatonic fast, like skip all the theory stuff, what they're doing is they're teaching you how to do something in a very specific setting, in a very specific way. And what I want my students, fly buzzing around, what I want my students to be able to do is to be able to understand things from a variety of different angles and in an array of different settings and different styles and all that. Because at the end of the day, music is a language. It really is. And you want to be fluent in it, and you want to be able to express yourself in a number of different ways. And if you skip over the basics, you're going to have gaps in your learning, and then it's going to be even harder to go back and relearn things because you're already going to feel like you're kind of beyond that. And it's just really like good to not like develop like specific habits where you're just like doing the same thing in the same situation all the time. So if you believe in what I'm teaching you, I'm all about building things from the ground up, being thorough in teaching the concepts, and not lying to you about how difficult what we're doing is, okay? So what I would say regarding all that is just go slow when you're playing this stuff. Think about what you're playing as well, right? Like half of guitar playing, people don't realize this, is your brain working. So like people, I gotta get my fingers faster. But most of the time, if you get your brain working faster, your fingers will move faster, okay? Always think before you move, right? Always have that happening, the brain-finger connection. And the more you practice theory and the more you go through things slowly and thoroughly, the more you're gonna make that connection. And you're gonna be able to talk to any musician from anywhere in the world, playing any style of music, and you guys are gonna be able to get on the same page and make music together. And you're gonna be able to express yourself, which is, I like to think that's probably why you're learning guitar, right? You might be thinking like, oh, it's kind of fun, it's just like this thing I like to do. You're really just trying to express yourself in a different way. So that's my spiel on that. I'll be back with some pentatonic scale exercises for our fingers, and we're gonna keep learning more about how to utilize and how to build these scales in different ways. All right, so until next time, I wish you all the best, and thank you for watching. Peace.